Good morning. This is Don again with thereasonablerealtor.com. And we are into part two of selling your own house at this point. Last time we have put your house in all sorts of free publications, and we have begun to put it in an MLS only situation where you get to take advantage of the MLS system, the exposure. Uh, Now we're at the point where your phone starts ringing. So let's give that some thought at this point. Your phone is ringing, and guess what? You're a for sale by owner, so it's your job to answer the phone. When you answer the phone, the people are going to ask about your house. The first question out of your mouth should be, are you working with a realtor? Are you working with an agent? They're not going to tell you a fib at this point. It's not to their advantage one way or the other. So they're going to tell you the truth. And they'll either say yes or no. If they say no, not working with an agent, then you say, great, come on, let's set up a time. I want you to see this house. I think you'll like it. Uh, on the other hand, let's say they say, yes, I'm working with an agent. Then at this point, you've got to say something that is not going to be unkind, but you don't need to be spending your time with that person, that buyer potentially, having a conversation with them without the agent there. The agent is going to want some commission. The agent's going to want to be in this transaction process. So, what you need to tell this buyer at this point, great. I think that's wonderful. I don't want to step on any toes. So if you don't mind, please coordinate this with your agent. I like to use the word coordinate. I like to use the phrase don't want to step on any toes. You are, in essence, telling them if you have an agent that's going to want some commission, they need to be in on this from the beginning. So you let them know that they need to run this whole thing past their agent and involve their agent to set up a showing. Um, that would be good for most of the time. A good percentage of the time, your possible buyers will be working with an agent. So you don't want to exclude them from the beginning in any way, shape, or form. Um, let's hope that some of your first few buyers are some of your most effective. Sometimes your beginning traffic is the most effective. Um, as a last resort, you may want to start having open houses if you haven't sold it as quickly as you want to. Some people would rather eat a bug than to have an open house. An open house does involve a lot of effort. It involves cleaning, of course, of the house. It involves spending your Sunday or your Saturday or whatever day you choose to have your open house. It's going to take that time. So it's not without its own cost to you to have, but that would be one of your next steps. If you have not sold it as quickly as you want to, consider having open houses. So let's say an appropriate amount of time has passed, and what happens is the right person comes through the front door, and the magic happens. And that right person then decides they want to purchase your house. And of course, you think that's lovely. You think that's fine. You get into step three, which I guess you would call the negotiation process. This breaks down into two different possibilities, two different directions, with an agent and without an agent. If the buyer does not have an agent, then you simply sit down at the kitchen table and hammer out your offer. You take a generic contract. Don't use a realtor's contract because there's not a realtor involved and it's copyrighted, it's trademarked. So have a generic blank contract to use. There is no counter offer and counter offer. No, nothing adversarial when you're there with the buyer, with the other principal. uh, you'll simply say, well, this is what the house is selling for. And they'll simply say, well, I would like to buy it for this. And you'll simply say, great. Or you'll say, well, I would love to see you buy it, but I really have to have this. And before you even fill out your contract, your offer form, you've pretty well got it hammered out there at the kitchen table. Now, the other side of the coin is if there is an agent involved, then there is the offer, counter offer involved. So the agent will get with the buyer and compose an offer on your house, and you'll look it over and you'll see if it's acceptable, or you'll see if it's something that you is close enough for you to want to change part of it, or if it's something that you totally reject. Um, so you will go back and forth in either of these two ways until you have a conclusion on which everyone agrees. That becomes a bound contract. When you have a bound contract, it's over with. There is no more negotiation. You hold your breath and you walk on eggshells towards the closing. Now, the fact is that we need to get over here to these parts of the notes. Uh, that it's not a matter of just sitting around waiting until closing occurs. Uh, there are things that have to happen in that period of time. If there is a contingency, for instance, if the person says, I will buy this house, but it's contingent on a satisfactory inspection of your house. Uh, that's wonderful, and it's up to you though to let the inspector in and to coordinate all that with your time because somebody has got to be at the house to let the inspector in. There's probably going to have to be an appraisal if the person buying your house is going to get a loan, then there's going to need to be an appraisal. So the timing and the appointments are going to be up to you, and you're going to have to set those, and those are going to take a little bit of effort on your part. You're going to have to deal with it if the inspection comes in and it's not satisfactory. If there's something that needs to be corrected about your house, or if there's some further negotiation to be done about what it will take for that to be considered a satisfactory inspection, in which case they'll remove that contingency and you will speed on towards closing. If the appraisal comes in too low, for instance, then there will be extra steps that can or should be done at that point to continue towards closing if you can do so. So nothing is cast in stone at this point. That's why I say walk on eggshells, do what you need to get everybody into the property and to satisfy everybody so that you can go on towards closing. Now, closing may be one company or it may be two companies. The buyer is, of course, if they're not paying cash, they're going to be closing on a loan as well. So they a lot of times determine where they want the closing to occur, and that's also a list of closing people that are approved by the bank where the mortgage is being had. And then, of course, you'll get a vote as to where you want to close. This can be two different places. It can be one or it can be two. Uh, but at this point, what you'll have to hammer out is where it's going to close and when it's going to close. And when everybody's been satisfied, including the banks and the lenders and the buyers and the sellers, you are going to have to determine at that point the the date of possession. You know, it's usually the date of closing, but you're going to have to set up moving companies. You're going to have to set up the utilities so that you can coordinate. There's going to be a lot of plates to keep in the air as far as that goes, a lot of balls to juggle. Uh, so you will have plenty to concentrate on. You'll have plenty of people that will be tugging at your sleeve in this direction and that direction. So it can get kind of frustrating. I do recommend a journal or a planner like we offer to help you keep track of all that, but it's not absolutely necessary. Um, there are just a lot of things to keep track of, but it can be done if you're selling it in a traditional manner through a realtor. A realtor keeps up with all of this and takes a lot of that burden off you, and that's worth a lot of money. You have to determine how much money you have and if it's too much money for you. So your work's cut out for you. Hopefully, this will shed some light on it. I will be updating this as much and as quickly as I can. Um, Please, if you have any questions, I encourage you to go to thereasonablerealtor.com. Subscribe to it if you get a chance to. At least enjoy it, like it if you want to. Subscribe to this video site, this YouTube channel, if you want to. Give me some feedback down at the bottom. Um, if you've got any questions, I promise I will answer them. In fact, if you look at thereasonablerealtor.com, there's my telephone number on there too. So when all else fails, I'm 10 digits away. Call me. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate you watching this video. Thanks.